Hello, everyone. Today, we are going to hear a story about a very vain emperor, two very clever swindlers, and a suit of clothes that didn't exist at all. This is Hans Christian Andersen's classic, The Emperor's New Clothes. Scene 1. The vain emperor once upon a time. There lived an emperor who was so fond of new clothes that he spent all his money on them. He didn't care about his soldiers, the theatre, or going for a drive-in, lest it was to show off a new outfit. He had a different coat for every hour of the day. Instead of saying, "The emperor is in his council chamber," people always said, "The emperor is in his dressing room." Scene 2. The two swindlers arrive. One day, two swindlers arrived in the city. They called themselves weavers and claimed they knew how to weave the most beautiful cloth imaginable. But they said this cloth had a magical property. It was invisible to anyone who was hopelessly stupid or unfit for their office. "I must have that cloth," thought the emperor. "By wearing it, I can tell the wise men from the fools in my kingdom." He gave the swindlers a large sum of money and silk and gold thread to start working immediately. Scene 3. The secret inspection. The swindlers set up two looms and pretended to work, but the looms were completely empty. After a while, the emperor sent his honest old minister to see how the work was going. When the minister looked at the empty looms, his heart sank. "I can see nothing," he thought, but he feared being called a fool, so he said, "Oh, it is magnificent, the patterns, the colors." Next, the emperor sent another official. He, too, saw nothing but empty air, but he didn't want to lose his job, so he praised the beautiful cloth just as the minister had done. Scene 4. The emperor's visit. Finally, the emperor went to see the cloth himself. He looked and looked, but he saw nothing but the empty looms. "Am I a fool?" he wondered in terror. "Am I unfit to be emperor?" So he smiled and nodded. Exquisite, truly splendid. All his courtiers looked too, and though they saw nothing, they all said, "It's marvelous." The night before the great procession, the swindlers stayed up all night with 16 candles burning, pretending to take the cloth off the looms, cutting the air with big scissors, and sewing with needles that had no thread. Scene 5. The grand procession. The emperor took off all his clothes, and the swindlers pretended to dress him. "Here are the trousers, here is the coat. It is as light as a spider's web," the swindlers said. The emperor stood before the mirror, turning this way and that. Then the emperor marched in the procession under a beautiful canopy. Everyone in the streets cried, "How beautiful the emperor's new clothes are!" No one wanted to admit they saw nothing. Suddenly, a tiny voice from a little child cried out, "But he has nothing on at all." The emperor shivered, for he knew they were right, but he thought, "I must go through with the procession." So he held himself even higher, and his courtiers carried the train of the clothes that weren't there at all.